Welcome to The Women We Know. I'm your host, Stacey Ferguson, and this podcast is all about real conversations with the women in our lives who have stories worth sharing. Not the polished highlight reels, but the real moments, the challenges, the turning points, the courage, the growth, and the wisdom that comes from living a full life. My hope is that somewhere in these conversations, you'll hear something that reminds you that you're not alone and that the women around us are far more extraordinary than we sometimes realize. So wherever you are listening from, settle in, because these are the stories of the women we know. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Women We Know. Today's conversation is one I've been looking forward to because I'm joined by someone whose outlook on life is incredibly refreshing. Sarah King describes herself as a brave dreamer, and I have a feeling by the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly why. She's someone who speaks beautifully about hope, faith, healing, and creating spaces where women feel safe to simply be themselves. Whether it's through conversation, movement, or community, Sarah has a way of reminding people that it's never too late to begin again. Sarah, welcome to The Women We Know.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited that you are here. But before we do get into any of the big stuff, we've got to break the ice. Now, normally I ask everyone what their go-to karaoke song is, and I'm not sure, as you guys know, I send a guest reflection guy. So I'm not sure if there was a bit of confusion or a misunderstanding there, but I don't know whether you thought maybe I was going to make you actually sing a song, but...
And she ran the other way.
Don't worry, I do promise that there's no live performances.
Oh.
Although I am curious, if you did have to grab the microphone, what song would you choose?
Oh, such a good question. Oh my goodness. I think for me, I remember being asked the same question. I was speaking at another place, and I got them to play I whip my hair back and forth. I whip my hair. And it's one of those songs that's like so far away from who I am, but it just brings out the attitude in me. Like it just brings out the yeah, here I am, here I come, kind of thing. Because when I walk, I have quite a wobble. And so it's just one of those songs where I'm like, I can sing that song no matter what happens, where I am. It's just my song.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that so much. That's such a great, I feel like it's just such a great introduction to who you are as a person too.
Kind of speaks for itself. And I was like, doesn't explain anything about me, but you get the feeling.
Yep. I feel like anyone listening, if they reflect back at the end of the episode to what your song choice was, I think they'll go, cool. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, now that we've broken that ice, let's wind back the clock a little bit. Let's go all the way back before kind of everything that life's throwing your way. Who was little Sarah?
Who was little Sarah? What a beautiful question. Little Sarah, she was always born a brave dreamer. She was always born with big, big, big dreams in her heart. She wasn't quite ready for the reality to hit the brave dreams, I think. She's always kind of been steadily herself and loved people. Since I was even a baby, like people used to say that I'd just sit there and I would just watch people. And I still do that today. I'm a people person. I really love humans. And, just always just seen humans and known a soul, a human soul. And since I was a baby, I've just been a people watcher. But she's a little brave dreamer and she's a little trooper, but she's also a deep feeler. She's a very deep feeler, and that's still true today as well. But she's a sparkle. Yeah.
When you do think back to yourself as a little girl, what do you remember the most?
I remember, when I was little, there was a lot of elements, I suppose, that were going on in life. There was a lot of real life stuff happening, like a lot of, I grew up in a beautiful family, but like we had a lot of family drama going on and stuff. But when I think back to my younger childhood, I think of, just camping trips and things like that, like little adventures that my family would take me on, and I never kind of like sat sat out of things. Like my family would always find a way, and like I have so many memories of going on in the middle of the bush and having to have baths and stuff in a river and things like that. And I think back to that now, and I'm just like, how did we do that? But
Mm,
I grew up with three brothers, so I grew up, with an adventurous little spirit, and yeah, a lot of layers to childhood, a lot of layers,
yeah.
but always very people connected, and a lot of medical things that were always happening as well. So there's so many layers to real life stuff, to family stuff, to my nurses and my doctors were like another family to me as well. And so there was so many elements to childhood and life in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah. And I can feel uh the people person in you, We've only spoken twice and I feel
Yeah.
like I've kind of known you. Like I just feel that connection with you and I feel that that has been something that's been part of you. What I have got to know about you is that there's one really strong thread that keeps coming back and that's you're a dreamer. And, I would love to know where you think that that comes from. Do you think that you've always been a dreamer, or do you think that you've kind of held on to it because life's kind of asked you to?
I think no, definitely always been a dreamer.
Hmm.
Definitely always been a dreamer. Like I always share, like my pure little soul was, as soon as I hit the earth, I was dreaming of dancing. I was a big dreamer. I've always dreamt of being a singer and a dancer and like being, um, a very, a very not so quiet personality. I've always had these very big dreams in me, and I'm so grateful for it because as life went on and things happened, that was something that pulled me through. And it was also like a bit of a compass in a way of understanding when I wasn't in a good space. That was something, if I felt my brave dreamer was starting to like sink and she was getting tired and I couldn't connect with that, then I knew that something was wrong and I wasn't okay at that stage. So yeah, it's actually, I think it's just, God's just like, she's gonna dream brave. And that was that, it's just always been there.
Yeah, I love that. When life doesn't go the way that you expect, and I'm sure that there's been plenty of moments in your life, and like all of us, where it hasn't, how do you stop yourself from letting go of those dreams or being a dreamer?
I think I look, I'm still learning, I'm still learning to slow down at times and understand that sometimes the brave dreamer has a different pace. And while my soul is a big brave dreamer and goes 100 miles per hour, my reality is that I do live in a body that needs time and needs space and needs to introvert at times because it's hard to keep up with my wild soul, And so I think when times have come where I have gotten tired and I have definitely lost a bit of sparkle at times, but I think at those times, just doing the simple things, I had this season in life where I was very, very burnt out, and I picked up my paints, and I just knew that as long as there was color that was coming out of me, that I was going to be okay. And so I just continued to just allow that I would nurture, the little bits of color that I had at times until it got bigger and brighter and refreshed itself. And yeah, so there's definitely different times when the sparkle has faded a little bit, but it's like just nurturing that until it comes back again.
Yeah. And I can imagine that kind of what you dream about over the years kind of changes. So when you were younger, what did you kind of think a big, beautiful life looked like? And then what, on the flip side, what does it actually look like now?
Well, it's actually a really fun season to ask me that question in particular
I love that.
because, yeah, if you asked me that question a couple of years ago, I would have had a completely different answer. But When I, for forever that I can remember, I have always had this dream of dancing. I've always dreamt of dancing. I've always dreamt of dancing in red shoes and like always just like had this dancing soul in me. And then my reality was that I was born with spina bifida. So I spend most of my time now in a wheelchair. And so, like that was just in me forever, that dream of dancing. And I think I didn't think of just the normality of life. I dreamt about dancing. I dreamt about dancing on stages and dancing with people. And funnily enough, in this season of my life, I am a dance teacher. And I'm a dance facilitator. I hold space for people to know what it is to connect with their bodies and move how they can. And I think that's been the journey of learning myself how to become what I've always dreamt to be. And finding the flow of that and finding my own pace in that and my own confidence in that has been the journey in between. Like I feel like I'm kind of doing what I've always dreamt I would do. And yeah, but the journey in between has been huge. Has been huge. I feel like I've skipped to the end. But yeah.
No, it feels like it, and I'm sure we'll touch on more as we unravel today. But it kind of feels like it's not about doing more with you; it's more about kind of living intentionally. And like you said, you had that dream of wearing these red shoes, dancing, and now you're a dance teacher, and despite all odds, being in a wheelchair. You kind of mentioned something that. When we've done the guest reflection guide, that stayed with me a bit. And you called this season the beautiful reset. I don't think I've ever heard anyone kind of describe kind of starting away in such a hopeful way. So I'd love to hear what that means to you.
Yeah, I don't know if I could have articulated it any better. Like, I feel like for most of my life, I have been so used to chaos. I've been so used to like fighting to stay alive health wise. And then family life was very chaotic as well. And then there's the normal life stuff. We moved around a lot and there was always the normal life stuff. And so I think my normal has always been chaos. It's always been fast paced, but chaos. And there's been a very deep element of out of control and just trust. And that's where faith steps in and you just have to go with the flow of whatever's happening and hold on to the anchors that you have. But, in this moment of my life right now, like I've just moved into my own little home and I'm safe and I'm just spending so much time in this season of my life reconnecting to myself as well. I'm so used to holding space with people and being intentional about life in the sense of, I never wanted to go through something that I couldn't use for the good. And that's where I've lived my life. I've lived my life to help other people and to be a friend to people in need. And so I think in this season of my life, I feel like almost like tucked away a little bit, not even a little bit. I feel very tucked away in my little home. And I feel like I've been reconnecting with little Sarah and becoming friends again and kind of just going, okay, let's reground completely, and actually give the brave dreamer all the love and all of the attention that she can get, and reset the nervous system, reset the mindset, reset all of that because it takes time. And yeah, I'm actually just in this beautiful season of slow days and intentional creativity and big things that I can invest into, but they're spaced out. So it's like the pace is beautiful. I'm still not used to it, but the pace is really beautiful.
I don't think that we kind of realize how much we're carrying until we're able to kind of finally put it
Yeah.
down. You talked about settling your nervous system, and you're in your own home now where you feel safe, and you used the word breathe when you talked about finally having your own home. So kind of did it surprise you how much your body had been holding on to?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and it still does, to be honest. Like even this morning I had, I had an appointment and we're talking about, I've been in my beautiful little home for about 8 or 9 months now. And I was just talking to my friend who's a psychologist, and I was just saying to her, I still don't think that my heart really believes that this is mine. And that's the thing, is like, I think when actually, I don't think I ever believed that it was going to be possible for me to actually have my own home, especially in these day and ages, like it's so hard. And so when you do stop, it's like this deep breath, and it's kind of daunting and quite overwhelming to peel back the layers of what life has been like and kind of look back and go, oh my gosh, like I have so many moments where I just have tears because I'm like, oh my gosh, I made it. Like
Yeah.
I made it through what I went through, and I'm okay,
Yeah.
Makes me want to cry just talking about it. Like it's such a relief to know that
Mm.
I'm okay, Yeah,
Yeah.
gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that so much in your words, and I feel like this season has kind of, I suppose, asked you to maybe become a different version of yourself. Maybe not necessarily even a better one, but just a different one. What do you think that the, do you think that there's been something that you've had to let go of to make room for this version of you?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's the thing of it, is like I'm so used to being a go, 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 go and live in the fast pace that I feel like that's been the biggest sacrifice in this season in so
Mm,
many ways. It's like learning to breathe and learning to be still and be present again. I know how to hold those spaces for other people, but for myself has been a different story, because I
yeah.
was always trying to catch up with life, and like I could go and help people, but then when I was turning around and going back home, my chaos was loud. And so yeah, just kind of learning to slow my pace down and be okay. Like I even had this thought the other day where I was like, I've booked in a few very significant things to kind of focus on and kind of pour my heart and soul into in the next 6 months. And I'm so excited for them. But at the same time, there's these big gaps in between where I'm like, to be okay with having those gaps, and you can still be intentional in the gaps. You can still be intentional with your quiet days, and that's something in me that I'm like, I'm used to being so social and like being seen and kind of known as the facilitator, or that Sarah, da 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 da. But it's
Mm,
like it's completely different for me to let that go right now and be okay with letting it go and letting it be as it is right now. I feel, like I said, I feel so tucked away and so, I don't know, just present with myself instead of being present for and with other people. And that it might sound weird, but that's actually a sacrifice to me.
mm.
I think it's a lot easier sometimes to look and pour ourselves into helping someone else than it is to kind of look in the mirror and go, okay, am I breathing?
Hmm.
Am I okay?
Yeah, and I have to agree with that. It's quite easy to fill the spaces with busyness, um, and kind of maybe not neglect, but kind of just ignore that little part for a minute. And I'm just going to fill it with this sort of stuff. Sometimes maybe without even realizing that that's what we're doing, but then to
Yeah.
be able to kind of now uh, be able to sit in that quiet and be okay with that, and
Yeah.
maybe even be okay with that uncomfortableness that it is.
100%. It's like, I think our world is so loud, and life is loud. And so to be able to actually just sit peacefully with ourselves has become something that is not easy to do for anybody. And
Mm,
so, but it's such a good space to nurture. It's a good space to actually slow down and be intentional about you and your core and your foundation and like where your heart is at, where your mind is at, where your soul is at, and actually really being real with yourself and being your own best friend as
yeah.
well. Like I think that's a big part of me that I love to hold space for other people is really knowing to how to communicate with your body and your heart. It's when we don't nurture that space, we forget what it is to be our own best friend.
Mm,
And that's so important. It's so important that you know who you are and what makes you tick and
mm,
what you're like in your strength, what you're like in your weakness, so that when life happens, because life happens, you can also just be there and really hold that space with yourself. Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I feel like listening to you talk, it's quite obvious that
Mm.
this beautiful reset didn't kind of just happen overnight. It's happened over a course of many months or many years, and probably shaped by a lot of different seasons. And I could tell that there's probably been some beautiful seasons in there and some incredibly hard ones. So when you look back over your life, what are some of the moments that you think quietly changed the direction of, I suppose, everything?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's very it didn't just happen overnight at all. Um, yeah, I think for me, I naturally came into life as being a speaker and having this career where I just like had doors that would open, and so it was so natural for me to be in that zone. And so from when I was like in grade 11, I started to travel and I started to speak, and it wasn't a trained thing. It wasn't something that I kind of dreamt about and that's what I was going to do, but it was like it clicked with every part of who I was because I got to see people, know people, help people, like it was my heartbeat in action. And I think there was a season where things were starting to get bigger and beautiful and brighter and things, but then a couple of different opportunities came my way that I ended up moving to the city for a couple of years and thinking like I had this opportunity to look after almost like a safe home in the city and with some girls that had come from very traumatic and very different lifestyles. And my heart, being being someone who's like, I want to help people, I chose to go into that full heartedly and it was really hard. It's a really hard couple of years of kind of just burnt out quite quickly, but then kept going. And I was living in this situation where I was kind of living in a home where I was giving 24/7, and there were people that would just kind of in emergency come and knock on the door. And so like you were constantly in giving mode and before that season, I would have thought that was a dream come true. Like I could
Yeah.
give as much as I could. But then I remember my psychologist at some point in that couple of years, because I then also like hit this season where I lost 5 people in a really short, like in 3 months.
Wow.
And so like I had a massive grief season that just like took me. And then I also kept on going after that. And I didn't stop to process those things. And so I remember my psychologist at the time, she said to me at one stage, she was like, Sarah, how are you still going? Like anyone, even with an people with an able-bodied right now would be burning, like burnt
Yeah.
out, and I was like, I am burnt out, but I somehow can still keep giving. And surely enough, like 2 years into that, like I moved back to the coast very burnt out and very exhausted. And that kind of moment in my life kind of, I don't know, it went from something that felt very natural for me, like, of being a speaker and kind of just sharing my story and things like that to being in this like a bit of chaos, and I think from then onwards, it kind of just chipped a little bit away and a little bit away at almost like me trusting me. It's different when you have faith, you can trust God. If you're working with people, you can trust the other people. But there was something in me that started to quiver a little bit, and it was me trusting me. And then over the years, home life was crazy, and so there was homeless stints and there was chaos when I was in a home, and so it just kind of like I came back from the city, kind of empty shell of who I knew myself to be, which was scary because I knew who I was. I always grew up in this confidence, knowing this is simply who I am, and this is my dream, and this is Sarah, and this is how I
Mm.
sparkle. And
Yeah.
then to feel that kind of burnout really rocked me, and it was just that was 10 years ago, like that was 2016. Then I came back to the coast, and
Wow.
since then it's been a slow climb.
Yeah.
It's been like, woohoo, I'm good, and then the rug gets pulled out from underneath your feet, and it's like it's been that over and over and over again. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, to be in this home that is actually mine, it's like that part of you that has been traumatized and like whiplashed into this like everything's good for a time, but then we can't expect it to be like that forever because it's going to be taken. That part
Mm.
of me, like that deep part of me, is healing slowly, and so it's like, I think that moment in my life of kind of, I don't know, overextending to the point where I didn't listen to myself and I didn't listen to what I needed. And yeah, that's that
Mm.
momentum of being on that, like the hamster wheel of kind of just give, 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 give. Okay, I've got 1%, let's give to, like,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I got stuck. I got stuck in that. And yeah, and that's been the slowdown is I can still give, but I've learnt to hug myself when I need a hug,
Mm.
like
Oh, I love
really.
that.
Yeah. And it's real, it's so beautiful, and that's the part of me that I want to bring to other people now is like, no, like you matter. So like
Mm.
it's beautiful to be able to see other people and give, but you need to first and foremost learn what it is to hear yourself and
Yeah.
to connect with yourself so that those moments when you are overgiving, your body kind of goes, hey, we can give this much capacity, but then we need to slow down and kind of go watch a sunrise, go watch a sunset, like kind of
Mm.
do what it is that fills you back up to overflow.
Yeah, and kind of listen to what you need first. I really love how you said, kind of hug yourself first. I love that.
Mm.
I've not heard that. Like I've heard of filling your own cup and all of that sort of stuff, but hugging yourself, it just feels so warm, and I love that so much.
Yeah.
And one thing that kind of stood out was when you were saying how you were just getting so used to the rug being pulled out from underneath you. You're climbing back up and then it just get pulled out from underneath you. And, I want to know what kind of kept your hope alive during those seasons where it would have been so easy just to lose it all and kind of become a bit of a negative Nelly or be a bit of a downer. What kind of kept that alive for you, do you think?
For me, without a doubt, like I have a very, very strong faith. So that's been my backbone since I was little. So there's just, I just believed. I believed that God was good and something was gonna work out okay, and so even that got tired at times because I was just like constantly like chaos and trauma. But at the same time, like you have to have hope. And I remember very vividly, like there was maybe I don't know what it was, but there was this moment in time where like I just lost hope for it was only like 2 or 3 days, and I remember feeling just that dark void of having no hope. And it was so scary to my soul that I kind of just snapped myself out of it and went, no, 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 we're going to choose hope. And I've got this tattoo on my hand, and it was my first tattoo, and it literally just says hope again. And
Mm.
that's the story of my life, is like I've just chosen hope and chosen hope and chosen hope. And because I knew so deeply and I was so connected with who I was as a brave dreamer, to not feel her anymore was really, really scary for me. So I have this thing in me where I would search for something sparkly to look at. I would look for the hope, and I would look for the they you often hear people say the stars are so bright because the sky is a dark sheet behind it. And it's like
Mm.
I was always looking for the star in the darkness, kind of going, what do I look at now? I was grabbing at things, and it was hard. It was really, really hard. But
Yeah.
yeah, my faith was definitely the loudest at keeping my hope alive. And then I'm just really grateful when I look back in it. There was always somebody, whether they were a brand new friend, or there was always somebody that was just placed on my journey at the right time, that walked with me for, sometimes it was a snippet of the journey, but it was just the right amount and it was just the right time. So yes, I always had somebody. And that's a big part of my heart now, is that I just live by this understanding that everybody needs somebody. Everyone just needs a friend, at any time of their life. You just look, and keeping, it was always like keeping a grateful heart as well.
Mm.
I think in this part of my life, when I'm kind of reflecting back on what I've been through, I'm noticing now that I am grateful that one of my gifts is that I've always had a grateful heart, and it's not been hard for me to be grateful for things. And so I think that in itself kept my head above water a lot of the time as well, is just knowing that there was always something to be grateful for, even in the darkest, darkest, darkest moments. There was always something to be grateful for.
Mm.
So yeah, just choosing perspective.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
powerful.
I love that. And that's exactly what I hear in you. It's your perspective on things, and you choosing, hope, and, your faith, and all of that sort of stuff. It's the way that you perceive things, and you could easily be the person to be, oh, poor me, instead of flipping it and choosing your hope and choosing your faith, and even your gratitude, and having the people around you that, like you said, might have been there just for a snippet, but it was so pivotal in your journey. uh, I love hearing that, your perspective focusing on the sparkly bits.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
actually it. It's like, is choosing perspective has always been, you can be covered in mud and either enjoy the slip slide of it all, or be really, really miserable that you're covered in mud.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I have this personality that's like, woohoo, let's go play in the mud. If we're already muddy, let's go play in the mud. And they say sometimes things get so bad that all you can do is either laugh or cry. Sometimes you
Mhm.
do both. Often you do both. But I
Yeah.
just and I'm grateful for my anchors and people that just kind of did journey with me, and kind of helps me reconnect to myself again, and kind of
Mm, I love
reminded
that.
me. Yeah.
Sarah, there's something that we've kind of like touched a little bit on back and forwards, but we haven't really talked about the physical side of your story. And maybe that's because that's not who you are at the core of who you are. And I love that. But you were born with spina bifida and hydrocephalus. Am I saying that right?
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Yeah.
So you have lived with disability your whole life. So do you think that it's always been important to you that people see Sarah first rather than seeing the disability?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know, I haven't really been somebody who has really, because I see people, thankfully, because I was born with a disability, I've always had this complete core understanding of like a person is not their body, and so because I have understood that, I think I just thought it was normal for people to kind of see someone for who they are, not the body that they
Mm.
live in. And as you get older, of course, like your eyes are open to different aspects of life and different humans, and it can get a bit gnarly. But yeah, it's always been so important to me that like I'm like, come on, like the classic, my eyes are here. It's kind of like that with my wheelchair. It's kind of like, yeah, 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 I have wheels, but my eyes are here. Like, and
Yeah.
window to the soul, baby. Like, look in my eyes. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
it is really important. To,
Yeah. And you've said though there's been times where kind of people have underestimated what you're capable of, but then you've had also quite the opposite happen where people completely fit that there actually is that there actually is an element of disability, and then that can create its own chaos. So what's it like living in that space of kind of like, I'm not just the disability, but also I do still have a disability. So there
Mm,
are some things that I kind of can't
yeah.
do, or yeah. So to explain to us what it's like living in that
Oh
space.
man, it is such a dance. Like it's such a tug of war between the two. I think I find it harder to remember myself that I'm disabled than I do to like go wild and go hard at things. Like right now, my reality is that a few weeks ago, like I jumped on my bed. I'd spent, my so-called rest day. Like Mondays, I try and, use as my rest days. And a few weeks ago, I jumped up on my bed. I'd just spent the day like changing my room around, and I felt like such a badass, like I was just like, I did it. And got up on my bed to put some fairy lights up on my windowsill, and I fell off and I'd hit my pump, which is part of hydrocephalus, is you have a pump in your head that keeps you alive, basically.
Yeah.
Um, and I basically fell off my bed backwards and did a backflip onto the floor. And so my reality right in this moment is that like I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I have a wobble, And so like the
Wow.
understanding of it, my friends are beautiful and they see me for who I am. My closest friends see me for who I am, and it's really natural. I love when they start walking on ahead and I'm like keeping up with my wheelchair, but then I'm like, whoo, like we've been walking up a hill and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, and they forget that I'm in a wheelchair because they're so used to seeing me. And I think a lot of
Mm,
that is because I I don't present my disability when I meet someone eye to eye. I present myself, and I'm not my disability. But
yeah.
every now and then, like you do have to. That's that connection again. Yeah, that's that understanding that we are mind, spirit, body, and soul. And so it's like I always like have this thing my whole life where I talk about how it's like my body and my soul bump heads all the time because I've got this wild woman of a spirit, and the body is like, no, 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 we're not doing that. And the spirit's like, watch me. And it's just like, I'm like, guys, you got to get along together, but it is very real that, um, you're not your disability, but there is this element of that I am still learning where I have to be verbal and I have to be clear and intentional about actually just saying to people, I'm struggling with this right now. And so with my disability, it's kind of seen as like a brain injury as well. And so there's moments where I have very slow days, or if I've given and like done a full dance class or something, my brain power on the way home can be minimal. But I've had moments where people have thought that I was just being a little girl not putting her big girl pants on because I couldn't decide what I wanted for dinner after
Mm,
leading a dance class. And but really, I was like, no, 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 I actually can't make that decision right now. Like I can't
yeah.
think. I just had my brain and my body and everything switched on for the last few hours, and they're done. So
Yeah.
if you could decide what we're gonna have for dinner, that would be great. But because I do have like a beautiful brain that is intelligent, people overlook, and that's a very hard space to live in. It feels very judgy in that space. Yeah, I'm still learning how to find my harmony in that space, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And sort of while we're sitting there, what do you wish that people understood about living with a disability that maybe they might not think to ask?
Simply, I was out with my friend the other day, and he's working as a support worker for me at the moment. And he articulated it so beautifully. He just said to me, "Okay, Sarah, your brain's still recovering from this fall." And he's like, "But I need you to tell me what the best way is to support you right now."
Mm.
And it was beautiful because I just got to say, "Look, my brain is like a slug right now. So if you could remind me to have lunch, remind me to drink water, like if I'm
Yeah.
going too fast, please tell me to sit down and shut up for a minute. I actually need you to be my brain at times." And I
Okay.
think I have noticed it a lot in friendships, in support working, and all kinds of different elements of my life where those questions aren't asked at the very start of the friendship, the relationship. And so when those moments do come, it's clunky because it's like they don't quite believe that I need the help that I'm saying I need. Um,
Mm.
and so just having those conversations where it's like, you know, if this happens, what do you need? Like how can I best support you? How can I best love you in that space,
Mm.
and just believing them, believing that one of the it's even hard to admit sometimes that like when I'm having a tired day, it's the simple things. Like when I was in a relationship, we had to learn that when I was tired, it was the simplest things that would fall apart. Like me knowing how to do something, me deciding what we're having for dinner, me deciding what I was doing next, whether I should go and have a shower or go and have a nap. Like those
Mm.
decisions become clutter in my brain if I'm overtired and my brain's tired. So yeah, it's understanding, I think understanding brings so much more kindness in relationships with people.
Mm. And maybe even just being, I feel like some people feel maybe a little bit scared to ask what do you need in
Mm,
the moment. So maybe just being brave enough to ask and not feeling like you're ignorant or anything like that, but it's probably more so appreciated when someone takes a moment to ask,
amazing.
what do you
Yeah,
need? Yeah.
100%. And it's that thing of like being seen again, right? It's when we're so open with our communication and we kind of just the icebreakers, they're laid on the table so that there's no wondering. I think, that is needed in humanity, let alone with disability. And so actually kind of asking the questions just from human to human, it makes me feel seen. I know that when I have those moments, I feel so seen and I feel so looked after when someone's like, "Okay, so how can I best support you?" Oh, you're thinking
Yeah.
about it when like it's just, yeah, it melts me when people ask those questions. When my friend said that to me the other day, I was like, ah! I had a little
Yeah.
moment because I was like, "It's so beautiful that you even thought about me like that." And he's like, "Well, of course, I want to support you." And so,
Yeah. I love that.
yeah,
I
yeah,
love that you bring that awareness to our listeners as well, because I think that that's really important, because I feel like there is a bit of a stigma around it, that if you ask
yeah,
someone what they need in the moment, they might maybe feel maybe belittled or something like that. And then
yeah,
do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's that
absolutely,
moment where people are like, well, you should just know, or or don't ask me.
yeah,
I don't even know what I need right now. But I think if you're in the space to be able to ask what someone needs, disability or
yeah,
not, even,
yeah,
I feel like
absolutely,
it's such a, yeah, like you said, it's communication. And
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And
and
it's just
especially,
humans seeing humans too, right? Like you
hmm
can feel from a mile away when somebody's being genuine and they're just seeing you and they're like, "Hey, what can I do to help?" I was over at the shops a couple of days ago, and there was this girl, and she was visibly getting upset because the lock on her bike was like, it had jarred, and people were just walking past her because I think, there was this question mark whether she was trying to steal the bike or not. But I just looked at her face and I was like, she needs a cuddle. And so
Mm.
I just went over and I was like, hey, what's happening? And she just burst into tears. She was just like, it's stuck.
Oh,
Like humans, if we just see each other and we just meet each other where we're at, there is no fear and there is no, I get what you're saying. Like, we definitely live in this world where there's like a lot of self entitlement and a lot of, like, when I've traveled, I've felt people be fearful of me because they didn't want to offend me. And like, I'm the last person that's ever gotten offended for
yeah.
people asking if they can help me. I'm like, yes, thank you. I'm like, yeah, be the first one to say yes. But,
Yeah.
but it's just humans being humans, and if they bite back at you, just smile and keep walking, like, don't let that stop you in the first place from connecting to somebody.
Yeah, I love that, and I love that just awareness around that, and that it's okay because most people are probably like you, Sarah, and welcome the questions and all the how can I help yous. So thank you
Mm.
for kind of sharing that. Sarah, after everything that we've already talked about, I love that you are still creating. You are relaunching your dance space, Dance Brave, and you're creating workshops and spaces for women. So tell me about Dance Brave.
Dance Brave. So, Dance Brave, oh, it's like my baby. It's my heartbeat as a dancer, and it's taken 37 years for me to get to this space where I gave myself permission to just be where I'm at and just use what I have in my hands, use the story that I have in my life right now, and create from there. And so Dance Brave, when I first started dance facilitating for the first 6 months, I actually facilitated a friend of mine's business, and that was all able-bodied and it was all beautiful. It was very self-expression and just a precious, precious space. And I wanted to take that into the disability world where dance classes looked much more like follow the leader and switch your brain off because you don't need it anyway. Switch your heart off because you don't need it anyway. You just need to follow the leader. And I was like, no, they are precious souls that need to feel and express themselves. So Dance Brave, actually, I went over to America for a month after teaching for 6 months here and teaching the dance. And then I went to America for a month and went to this amazing, it was called the Rolettes Experience, and it's this big 3 day dance experience for girls and women in wheelchairs. And just while I was over there, just really understood that I was like, no, I've got this in me to birth. And so when I came home, I started just opened a space. I was just like invited some people that I'd been dancing with, and they all came in, and I was just holding space for people at first with disabilities to feel and express and dance. And it's just been this great journey of evolving and then kind of being cut back a little bit and then, re-evolving. But this year it's been quiet for me just while I'm actually waiting for a new wheelchair. And so I've kind of had a stillness in it all. But at the end of the year, we've got some big things coming up where we're dancing in festivals and I'm doing dance workshops, and it's now turned into this space where I figured that, like I loved dancing with the able-bodied as well. And so I just missed that when I was just holding space for the disability side of things. And now I've worked out that I'm like the bridge. And
Mm,
so I figured that if I just hold a space, then whoever wants to come can come.
mm,
And I'm facilitating from a wheelchair, so it kind of just gives everyone permission to come, whether they're on wheels, whether on their feet, whatever. Everyone
mm.
is welcome, and it takes bravery to dance, but it's all about feeling and expressing and then dancing. And so it's a brave space. It's a vulnerable but you're seen and loved here space, and
Yeah.
it's also super fun. Like it's just so fun. We do flash mobs, and we got invited onto the morning show last year, and we did a flash mob on the morning show. Like it's just been a wild adventure. It's been so fun.
It sounds like it, and it sounds like it would be an absolute blast.
Mm,
I would love
it's
to
good.
know what do you want a woman to feel when she sorry, is it only women or is it open to men as well?
It's everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's everybody, but I'll be holding workshops for women's
Yeah.
spaces and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what do you hope that she feels or they feel when they leave your space?
Reconnected, grounded, and like you can breathe again. I think when you connect back into having that time of just kind of going, okay, how does my body want to move? What stories am I holding? The body keeps the score. So when we move it, we feel emotion and we feel stories. And our body has been through everything that we have been through in our lifetime. So when you start to move it, often people get emotional and they start to get quite teary, and they're like, what is happening? And it's just when you hold that space for a woman to be in that space and be safe to feel deeply and connect back into herself deeply and move. There's something about the movement is like freedom. And so
Mm.
I hope that everybody walks out of workshops, and especially women, where they just feel light, they just feel like they're floating when they
Yeah.
leave a workshop, because when you reconnect with your best friend, aka your body and yourself, then you feel like the luckiest one in the world.
Mm. I love that because it kind of it feels like you're not just opening a space for women to dance, but you're kind of giving them permission to just be themselves and even be brave in it. You said earlier on that it takes bravery to dance, and I think that uh, this conversation has kind of shown us all that you've spent so much of your own life learning what it means to be brave in your own body and in your own life. So tell me, what does bravery look like for you right now?
Ooh, I love that question. Right now, bravery looks like, I feel like bravery for me looks like being very present, being as present as I can be, and like for me that looks like checking in with who I am, like checking in with my body and kind of going, is that a yes or a no? And being open to the no's rather than always expecting that I'm just going to go, go, go. It actually takes more bravery for me to be like, oh, we're going slow today. Okay, cool, cool, cool.
Mm,
Than it does to be full and exploding. But for me, bravery is just in the feeling deeply and the expressing deeply and the being connected to myself. Um, and being seen as her, being seen as
yeah.
Sarah, like again. And I feel like there's a stripping away that needs to happen for the the honesty of that to be seen. Yeah, so yeah, bravery
Yeah.
looks vulnerable in this season. It looks like vulnerability.
I love that. I feel like that's quite raw and true to everything that we've heard from you is sitting in where you are right now.
Mm.
So if there is a woman listening right now who maybe she's wondering whether she has the energy to dream again or be brave again, what would you say to her?
Yeah, you can, and yeah, you do. Like often it's in those question marks where we feel, can I? It just starts with a baby step, the
Mm,
baby step and the baby breath. It's just being present and doing what you can. It's not about Dance Brave is not about being the best dancer. Life is not about being the best, the best, the best of the best of the best. It's about being the best at what you were created to do. Sometimes the simple is the most significant. It's just knowing what you can do, and that's enough. One thing at a time.
I love that. And if you could sit beside your younger self for 5 minutes, what would you want her to hear?
Oh, oh my goodness. I would want her to hear. I would want her to know that it's going to be big and it's going to be scary at times, but she's going to be okay. And that it's really important to protect the sparkle, protect the sparkle that she knows she has, and know that it's going to be her best friend, and that the color doesn't need to be hidden. The color needs to be big and loud. Don't hide who you are.
Yeah. Do you think that you are in a space now to believe that now in a way that you could have never believed it back then?
Yeah, absolutely. There's I think they say you go through the refiner's fire, and I feel like life has been one big fire in a lot of ways. By all means, there's been beauty, but I think when you get to a point, I grew up in hospital, and I grew up, fighting to stay alive a lot of the time as well. And so I think that just gets to a point where you don't care about the things that are trying to shut you up or shut you down or hide who you are. You just get to a point where you're like, what have I got to lose? By me being it's only going to give other people permission to shine bright too. So why would I hide that? It's just the surface stuff the shallow stuff just gets burnt away. It's just, you just get a confidence. You just kind of go, let's just go for it. Let's just be us and just do it. Yeah.
I love that. Before I let you go, we have to finish the way that we always do. So I would love to know, after listening to everything that you've talked about today, I would love to know who a woman in your world is that you believe deserves to be seen, celebrated, or heard.
Oh, I've got so many.
That's a blessing.
It is. It honestly is. I'd go from, I've got a neighbor who's a beautiful artist, and oh my gosh, I saw her art and I was like, what are you doing hiding in this tiny little speck in the world? It's just people like that. And then I've got, my beautiful art teacher is wonderful as well. I've watched her go through so many different things, and I've been a friend of the family and a friend of her kids and everything, but she has nurtured and navigated this beautiful art school that has hundreds of people now, but she's built a community, and gone through so much and nearly died from brain aneurysms and all kinds of things. And she's just brave. She's brave and she's real and she's raw. Her name's Jess, and she's just awesome. She's just come to mind. And then my best friend Vivian is an incredible young woman who's I just love being surrounded by people in the world today that are also she's Brazilian. And I was just even just the bravery it takes to move countries and just, get your own life going is just beyond. That kind of bravery to me sounds so scary. And she just takes it in a stride. And I'm always you're brave, right? Whoa. Yeah.
I love
those
that.
two women. I could rattle off a whole scroll of names right now. I really could.
I love that. I love when I ask a woman that, and they've just they don't know how to name just one or two, or because they're so surrounded by incredible, inspiring women in their lives, and I love that, and I love that I get to celebrate just the small smidgen of the women out there. And, hopefully this will go for many years and I'll get to celebrate lots and lots of more women. But I love that I get to meet women like you through this nomination segment, I guess, because otherwise our paths wouldn't have crossed and I wouldn't have got to hear your beautiful story.
I know,
And,
yeah.
I just love that part of women celebrating other women. It's so important.
Yeah. Oh, so
Yeah.
important, and such a beautiful thing that you're doing, and like nurturing that as well, just in conversation, just like women dubbing in other women that are doing beautiful life.
Yep.
What better way to hear like the women we know, like I
Yeah.
just love it. I love it. Love what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I feel like we could probably keep talking for hours, but there is a time cap on it, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like we could just go on for hours, so we've got to kind of rein it in a little bit. But
The brave dream is like, no. Just kidding.
I feel like you have kind of brought to my reality that, being brave, it doesn't always mean that we have to do something huge. It could just be letting yourself rest, or it could be choosing hope when you don't even know what tomorrow looks like, or having faith. And sometimes it's just simply allowing yourself to dream again. And I hope that the women listening know that they don't have to have their whole next chapter figured out. They can just take the next step, or just keep dreaming and keep choosing hope, like you said. So thank you so much, Sarah, for being so open with us today, and thank you for reminding us that a reset doesn't have to mean starting from scratch, and sometimes it's just means just being brave and being a brave dreamer, like you so beautifully dub yourself.
Yeah, no, 100%, like you don't have to have your stuff together. You just have to be honest and brave with your reality, where you're at.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Sarah.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
And that's a wrap on today's conversation with one of the women we know. If something in today's episode resonated with you, I'd love if you shared it with a woman in your life who might love it too. And don't forget to follow along so you never miss a conversation. And if there's a woman in your life that you know has a story worth sharing, I would love for you to nominate her at The Women We Know on Instagram or Facebook. Or shoot me an email at thewomenweknowpodcast@gmail.com. There's a dot in between each of the words, the.women.we.know.podcast@gmail.com. Thank you for listening and being part of this community that celebrates her story, her resilience, her honesty, her triumph, her challenges, her life. We celebrate her.